Hello students, welcome to Toppscholars. Today we are going to start with a very interesting topic which is acid, base and salt. This is also among the very important points which you have into your CBSE science syllabus. So here we are going to discuss about the previous year questions from year 2019 to 2023, that is past 5-year questions, right? So we are having questions from all the 5 years for 1 mark, 2 mark and 3 mark, okay? So let us go for the first 1 marker questions. They are consistently there for all the years 20, 21, 22, 23. That is in all 16 questions holding 16 marks for you. 2, 2, 9 and 3. Then for the 2 mark question, there were 2 questions in 2019, 2 in 21 and 1 in 23. 4 questions holding 8 marks for you. Whereas for 3 marker, you have 1 question in the year 2019, 2 questions in the year 2020, giving you total 3 questions and 9 marks for you. So, if you look into this graph, students, you can understand consistently they are asking questions from this topic every year. The highest was in the year 2022, where most of the 1 marker question, that is multiple choice questions or any very short answer questions were there from this particular topic. So first we will be discussing the questions which are there in the previous year and then we'll try to answer a few questions. So let us begin. The first one is from the year 2019, which is a short answer question for 3 marks, right? So here the question says you have to identify the acid and base from which the sodium chloride is obtained. Which type of salt it is? When is it called as rock salt? And how is rock salt formed? So into this question, which is for 3 marks, children, they are asking you about 3 different questions here. So first, identify acid and base from which sodium chloride is obtained. So if you are making NaCl, that is sodium chloride, which acid and base will be used over there? Which type of salt it is? What is called as rock salt and how is rock salt formed? The next is from the same year, again a short answer question for 2 marks. Blue litmus solution is added to 2 test tubes, A and B, containing dilute HCl and NaOH solution respectively. So, in which test tube a color change will be observed? We are doing blue litmus test with an acid and an base. So, which will show you that particular test? You have to determine that and then state the color change and give its reason. What was the color change that you observed and what is the reason for that? So, for this short answer, like for this 2 marks, you have to write majorly 3 points. First, which one will be giving you the color change? What is the color change? Right? Give reason for that and you'll be good to go. From the same year, another short answer for 2 mark questions. What is observed when 2 ml of dilute HCl acid, that is hydrochloric acid, is added to 1 gram of sodium carbonate? Right? And it is taken in a clean and dry test tube. You have to write down the chemical equation for this reaction which is involved. Just by writing the chemical equation, students, you will be able to easily get 2 marks for this question. So here we have sodium carbonate along with HCl producing NaCl plus carbon dioxide plus water. Let's try to balance this equation. So, you are using sodium carbonate, Na2Cl. So, here automatically we have 2 NaCl which is produced. If we go for the balancing of Cl, now you have 2 Cl molecules, so 2 HCl molecules will be used, right? And if we balance the hydrogen, 2 hydrogen here, 2 hydrogen here, it's already balanced. Carbon dioxide. So, you have CO2. So, you have CO3, 1 carbon and 3 oxygen molecules. 1 carbon, 1, 2 and 3 oxygen molecules. So, this comes out to be the balanced equation here, correct? So, water will be formed into the liquid state, carbon dioxide into the form of gaseous state and NaCl formed into the aqueous state. So, by doing this balanced chemical equation, students, you will be easily getting 2 marks for this question. From the year 2020, students, you have 1 MCQ giving you 1 mark. Baking soda is what? Like it is a mixture of sodium carbonate and acetic acid, sodium carbonate and tartaric acid, sodium hydrogen carbonate and tartaric acid, sodium hydrogen carbonate and acetic acid. So, you have to determine about the baking soda, and it is made up like a mixture of which two components? So, your baking soda is a mixture of your sodium hydrogen carbonate and tartaric acid. So, the correct answer will be option C. Again, a multiple choice question where you have to determine the formula for plaster of Paris. This is for 1 mark again, right? So, we know that the chemical formula for plaster of Paris will be calcium sulfate and half water molecule. So, you have CaSO4 half H2O, which will be the correct answer for this question. Next is again from the year 2020, there are these long answer questions for 3 marks each. So, list the important product of chlor-alkali process, and you have to write one important use of each of them. And the second question here is, how is washing soda prepared from sodium carbonate? That is, by using sodium carbonate, how can you make washing soda? Then you have to state its chemical equation, state the type of the salt which is used. You have to also determine the hardness of water which can be removed by it. So, by doing one reaction here, students, you are answering about 3 questions into this one, whereas here you are determining just the important products of chlor-alkali processes, and you have to write the important use of each of the process. Next is from the year 2021, students. We are having very short answer type question which is for 1 mark each, and one question which is for short answer giving you 2 marks. Let us understand the questions here. Name the type of chemical reaction which takes place when quicklime is added to water. So, what will it produce? It will produce slaked lime. Correct? Along with that, there is evaporation of heat. That's it. State the purpose of which litmus paper or litmus is used in laboratories. It will help you to determine the pH. You can determine the pH of the substance with the help of the litmus paper, right? And for the short answer question, out of 2 hydrochloric acid and acetic acid, which one is considered as a strong acid and why? Strong acid is majorly corrosive in nature. Even in coming in contact with it, it can cause damage. So, hydrochloric acid is strong acid compared to acetic acid. You have to write down the molecular formula of one more strong acid. We can consider sulfuric acid as another strong acid. So, H2SO4 will be the chemical formula for sulfuric acid. From the year 2022, students, we have one more multiple choice question. You have to study the diagram and identify the gas which is formed here. So, here you have dilute sulfuric acid and zinc granules. So, when zinc granules are reacting with dilute sulfuric acid, what is the gas which is released? Carbon dioxide, which extinguishes the burning candle. Oxygen, due to which candle burns more brightly. Sulfur dioxide, which produces suffocating smell. And hydrogen, while burning, produces a popping sound. So, the resulting gas which is producing when your zinc is reacting with sulfuric acid, it is a displacement reaction where your zinc is replaced by hydrogen. So, it will produce zinc sulfate along with your hydrogen gas which is released into this reaction. So, out of all of the options which you can see, only last option says hydrogen which is produced while burning, and it is going to give you a popping sound. So, your correct answer will be option D. So, students, you can see from this topic, actually they are asking very simple questions. Again, we have one more for a multiple choice question for 1 mark. Which of the following in the table are given as correct? So, natural source orange will contain oxalic acid, sour milk contains lactic acid, ant sting contains methanoic acid, and tamarind contains acetic acid. So, out of all of these 4 sources, which particular acid is present into which particular substance, you have to determine the correct option. So, if you can see, sour milk is going to have lactic acid into it because milk contains lactic acid, correct? So, your second option is correct. So, if you look into the options, you can directly eliminate the rest of the 2, right? Because they don't contain option 2. While answering multiple choice questions, it's always a better way to eliminate your incorrect options here. So, now either you can pair this with orange containing oxalic acid or ant sting containing methanoic acid. So, when you look into the option 1 and 3, orange does not contain oxalic acid, it rather contains citric acid, that is vitamin C C. Oranges are very rich in vitamin C, right? So your correct answer will be third option, that is angst containing methanoic acid. So your answer comes out to be option C. From again the same year paper, students, we have one more multiple choice question. Select from the following statement which one is true or false. Bases are bitter and they turn blue litmus red. Bases have a pH less than 7. So this one is incorrect, because if the pH is less than 7, then it will be an acid. Bases are not sour, rather acids are sour. So this one again will be an incorrect option. Bases turn pink when a drop of phenolphthalein is added to them. So by doing this, students, we have clearly eliminated two options. Now we are left with two, that is bases are bitter and turn blue litmus red, which will be the correct answer, and bases do not turn pink when there is a drop of phenolphthalein added to it. So again this will be the incorrect one. The next question is again a multiple choice question holding 1 mark for you. So let us look at the question here. We have to study the table and choose the correct option from the below. Sodium chloride. So you have the parent acid such as NaCl and sodium hydroxide, and the nature of the salt which is produced is basic in nature. Sodium carbonate parent base is having H2CO3 and sodium hydroxide, and the nature will be neutral. Sodium sulfate, that is H2SO4 and NaOH, producing the nature of the salt to be acidic. And sodium acetate, so we have parent acid such as CH3COOH along with sodium hydroxide giving you a basic salt. So you have to carry out these reactions between the acid and the bases which are provided to you into the table. The product which is formed will be the salt, and you have to determine the nature of the salt. So by doing these basic reactions, you will be able to score 1 mark for the question. The next question from the same year, one more multiple choice question that we have. You have lemon juice having pH value 2.2, gastric juices to 1.2, vinegar 3.76 and dilute acetic acid to be 3. So the decreasing order of the H plus ion concentration will be. So when you say that there is a decreasing order of H plus ions, when you have less H plus ions, right, you will be having more pH. When you have more H plus ions, there will be less pH. For example, gastric juices is showing you the least pH, right? That means you have more H plus ions into the gastric juices. So you have to determine the decreasing order of that H plus ions. Decreasing order of the H plus ions. So here, which one will be having the highest here? That is your second. If you look into the options, you can eliminate this. 2 is having the highest. Okay. Followed by your lemon juice. Lemon juice is having next level pH. So it will be having, compared to the gastric juice, it will be having less H plus ions. But compared to the dilute acetic acid, lemon juice will be having more. So your options comes out to be 2 will have more, followed by 1. Okay, this is given in both the options. Then you have dilute acetic acid 4 followed by 3. So the correct answer comes out to be option C. From the same year, students, you have one more very short answer type question. Study the experiment which is shown to you given into the figure and choose the correct option. So if you look into the figure here, we are provided with 2 test tubes. We don't know what is P here, we don't know what is Q here. We are provided with the test tube containing dilute hydrochloric acid, and here you have calcium hydrochloric solution. Okay, and there is also a thermometer which is placed there. So what is P and Q, and what are the changes that you observed into the calcium hydroxide solution? So depending upon the P and Q that you see into the reaction which is reacting with your dilute sulfuric acid, you have to determine the result and answer accordingly. From the same year paper, students, one more multiple choice question. Which of the following salts do not have the water of crystallization? So you have bleaching powder, washing soda, plaster of Paris and baking soda. Which of these do not have the water for crystallization? So you are provided with 4 different types of samples and accordingly you can answer. So for example, plaster of Paris and baking soda, both of these have the water of crystallization, correct? Whereas, so you can eliminate your options accordingly. So second and fourth should not be into the option. This. So your answer comes out to be 1 and 3. From the same year papers, children, we have assertion and reasoning type question giving you 1 mark. Assertion statement says, sodium hydrogen carbonate is used an ingredient in antacids. Reaction says, sodium hydrogen carbonate is a mild non-corrosive basic salt. So you are provided with 4 options. Depending upon the assertion and reasoning statement that you have to select which is the correct option. So if you're using sodium hydrogen carbonate in an antacid, that means it is basic in nature. One more MCQ from the same year paper, children, 1 for 1 mark. 50 ml of tap water was taken into a beaker. Hydrochloric acid was added drop by drop to the water. The temperature and the pH of the solution was then noted down. The following graph was obtained. So here this is the volume of HCl which is added, and depending upon the volume of HCl that you are adding, you can see the pH of the solution changing. From the beginning, the pH of the solution was 3, and as you can see, you are adding the HCl, the pH of the solution is coming downwards. So you have to choose the correct statement related to this activity. The options given are, the process of dissolving an acid in water is highly endothermic. Is it using up the energy or releasing the heat? Exothermic. It is going to release the heat. The pH of the solution increases rapidly on addition of acid. The pH is not increasing. The pH goes on decreasing. So again, incorrect. This is exothermic. The pH of the solution decreases on the addition of acid. Yes, the pH of tap water was around 7. So if you look into the beginning here, students, the pH of the tap water, when there was no volume of HCl added, the pH was 3 only. So it was not actually 7 given to us. And the pH of the tap water was around 7. So this tap water, the pH will be neutral in state. So both 3 and 4 statements over here are correct, whereas the first and the second statements come out to be incorrect. So as first and second is incorrect, you can eliminate these options and your correct answer comes out to be option C. Now students, we are solving a very recent year paper, that is your 2023 multiple choice question giving you 1 mark for this one. Select and write most appropriate options out of the 4 given. Into this experimental setup, you can see that passing the gas produced in the reaction in the solution X, okay, the solution X first turns milky and then colorless. So what we have done, you have taken sodium carbonate, you have taken hydrochloric acid, you have added a thermometer, and that gas is passed through that X. Okay, you don't know what is the X solution. So the X solution first turns milky and then turns colorless. So now let us select the appropriate option here. We are provided with different situations. So the option justifies accordingly that X is aqueous calcium chloride. The option that justifies the above statement observation is that X is aqueous calcium hydroxide. Okay. So what is happening? It is turning milky due to carbon dioxide gas liberated into the reaction, and after it sometimes it becomes colorless due to formation of calcium carbonate. Even if it is forming calcium carbonate, it will not become colorless. Calcium carbonate will stay milky. It turns milky due to the formation of calcium carbonate. It is not turning milky because of formation of calcium carbonate. It is turning milky because of the formation of carbon dioxide gas or CO2 gas. So again, this option comes out to be incorrect. It turns milky due to passing of CO2 through it. It turns colorless as on further passing, the sodium hydrogen carbonate is formed, which is soluble in water. And the last option says CO2 is liberated during the reaction, turning the lime water milky due to the formation of calcium hydrogen carbonate, and after some time it turns colorless due to the formation of calcium carbonate, which is soluble in water. So again, this option will be incorrect because calcium carbonate is not soluble in water. So the correct answer comes out to be C, because sodium hydrogen carbonate is formed, which is soluble in water. The next question is again a multiple choice question, students, which is for 1 mark. The table below has information regarding the pH and the nature of acid and basic of 4 different solutions, and you have to determine which of the statement is correct. So lemon juice is going to have the pH around 3. pH paper will show you the orange color. Milk of magnesia, it is blue and it is going to show the pH that is around 10, which is basic. Gastric juices, which is red in color for the pH paper, and it gives out the approximate value of pH to be 6. Pure water, it is yellow, right, and it gives out to be the pH to be 7. So you have to determine which of the following options into the table are correctly given. So if you try to eliminate the option just like that, this will be completely wrong because gastric juices do not have the pH 6. They will have a lower pH, right? Pure water can give you the aqueous pH, neutral pH. Lemon juice can give you the acidic pH, right? So depending upon what color change that you observe into the pH paper, you have to mark the correct option. One more multiple choice question from the same year. Select washing soda from the following. Which of the following option is going to give you washing soda, right? So we know that the formula for washing soda is sodium carbonate Na2CO3 and it has water of crystallization. So the answer would be option C. A short answer question from the same paper, children. A compound X which is prepared from gypsum has the property of hardening when mixed with proper quantity of water. You have to identify X and write down its chemical formula. Also, you have to state the chemical difference in the chemical composition of between baking soda and baking powder. So, you have to write down the chemical formula for the X which is formed and you have to write the difference between baking soda and baking powder that we have here. So, students, up till now, we have seen a lot of different questions or different types of varieties of questions which they are asking for past 5 years. Let's try to answer a few which are more difficult ones. So this is from the year 2020. It is a 3-marker question. List the important products of chlor-alkali process and you have to write important use of each. So the solution, you will see that the chlor-alkali process is used in what? It is used in electrolysis of sodium chloride. So the important products which are formed into this process are sodium hydroxide, chlorine and hydrogen gas. So you have 2 NaCl reacting with water, producing sodium hydroxide, chlorine gas and hydrogen. Okay, you have having both chlorine and hydrogen gas. So when an electric current is passed through the brine, so whatever this brine which is formed, it is able to form H2 at the cathode and Cl2 will be having at the anode. So as both of the gases are moving towards the respective electrodes, whatever you are left into the solution will be sodium hydroxide, correct? So what are going to be uses of these? Sodium hydroxide will be used into the soaps and detergents, Cl2 will be used in PVC and pesticides, and hydrogen will be used as a fuel and production of ammonia. Clear? The next question is from the year 2021, which is a 2-marker question, children. Out of 2, hydrochloric acid and acetic acid, which one is considered as a strong? You have to write the name, the chemical molecular formula and one more strong acid. So you have here between acetic acid and HCl. HCl will be more acidic in nature, right? It is more corrosive in nature, hence it is called a strong acid. Why? Because when you mix it with water, it ionizes completely. That is why we are calling it as a strong acid. And it dissociates completely. While acetic acid is going to show you partial dissociation in the presence of water. Another example which you can take is of sulfuric acid. It is also a strong acid because it ionizes completely in the presence of water. Another question from the year 2023 students, it's a 2-marker question. You have to determine compound X which is prepared from gypsum has the property of hardening when mixed with proper quantity of water. You have to identify X and write its chemical formula. Also state the difference between chemical composition of baking soda and baking powder. So here the solution says that the compound X, when it is, as we are saying, it's preparing from gypsum, the compound X will be a plaster of Paris. So the chemical formula for this equation will be, this is a gypsum, that is calcium sulfate with 2 water molecules as water for crystallization. When they are heated, when you are heating it at 100 degrees Celsius, you produce plaster of Paris, which is calcium sulfate, half water molecule and 1.5 is released into the process. Because you are heating, the water will be evaporated, correct? So the plaster of Paris is also used in hospitals majorly. It is used to give plasters to the people who are suffering from fracture, so that the plaster of Paris will hold the bones together and it will be making sure that the healing is done correctly. Okay. So yes students, I hope you understand all the topics that we have discussed today and all the doubts were clear. Apart from these, if you find any questions which are more difficult, do write us into the comment section. Like, share and subscribe for more such interesting videos. And until next time, thank you and happy learning.